I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, but here we are. Let me start from the beginning. My name is Jake, and I had been married to my wife, Emily, for 5 years. We had what I thought was a good relationship, lots of laughter, shared interests, and a lot of plans for our future. We were that couple who made others jealous, or so I thought. But lately, there had been some subtle changes in Emily's behavior that made me uneasy. It started small. She was working late more often, claiming it was just a busy season at her job. I believed her, but a part of me subconsciously started to wonder. I mean, how busy can an office job really get? There were also little things, like her suddenly being super protective of her phone, always scrolling through it with a look of concentration that I had never seen before. I brushed it off as just her being more into her social media. But when I caught her deleting texts one night, I felt a knot in my stomach. Then came the anniversary trip, a romantic getaway to Italy. I thought it would be the perfect way to reignite the spark in our marriage. I had everything planned out: wine tastings, a cooking class, a surprise gondola ride in Venice. I couldn't wait to see her face when she found out. I was excited. I wanted Emily to feel special and loved. It was supposed to be perfect. The first few days were great. We saw the sights, ate amazing food, and took countless photos. But there was something off. I noticed Emily seemed distracted. Her laughter didn't quite reach her eyes like it used to. I tried to shake it off, convincing myself that maybe she was just overwhelmed by the trip. Then came the cooking class. I signed us up for it as a surprise, thinking it would be a fun way for us to bond. We arrived at the hotel's kitchen where the class was being held. The chef was charming, welcoming, and clearly passionate about cooking. But it was the tour guide, Marco, who caught Emily's attention. He was tall, handsome, and had that Italian accent that would make anyone swoon. I tried to focus on the class, but I couldn't help but notice the way Emily was looking at him, flirting, giggling, and leaning in closer than necessary. I felt a pit forming in my stomach. I thought, no, this is just her being friendly. But deep down, the feeling wouldn't go away. And then it happened. I went to grab a bottle of olive oil from the storage area and stumbled upon them in the kitchen behind a stacked pile of crates. They were locked in a passionate embrace, whispering to each other as if the world didn't exist. My heart dropped into my stomach. The air turned thick, and I felt as though I had been punched in the gut. I stood there, frozen, unable to process what I was seeing. My mind raced as I quietly retreated, not wanting to confront them just yet. I felt like I was in a bad dream, but I couldn't wake up. I walked out of the kitchen and into the courtyard, trying to catch my breath. The betrayal hit me like a tidal wave, crashing over me with a force I couldn't have anticipated. I thought about all the little signs I had ignored, and how they now painted a clear picture of the worst kind of betrayal. When I finally gathered the courage to approach Emily about what I had seen, I had to confront her. Confronting her wouldn't be easy. I knew she'd have an excuse prepared, but I was not ready for the whirlwind of emotions that would ensue. The confrontation was inevitable. I could feel the storm brewing inside me, and I knew that once I unleashed it, everything would change. As I paced back and forth in my mind, I was filled with a mix of anger, sadness, and confusion. I felt like a fool for trusting her so completely. I never expected this from Emily, and now I was left with a mess of feelings and a decision to make about our future together. The confrontation loomed over me like a dark cloud, and I could feel its weight pressing down with every passing moment. It was hard to find the right words, and I didn't want to lash out in anger. I pictured her reaction, her eyes widening in disbelief, defensiveness taking over. But I couldn't wait any longer. I needed answers. After the cooking class, I found a quiet spot in the hotel courtyard, pretending to admire the view of the Tuscan landscape. Sun was setting, casting a golden hue over everything, but it did nothing to lighten the heavy feeling in my chest. I spotted Emily walking toward me, her cheeks flushed with excitement from the class, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside me. "Jake, did you see how well I chopped those vegetables? I think I might have a future as a chef." She beamed, her eyes sparkling with a brightness that felt foreign, given the circumstances. "Yeah, that was great, Em," I replied, my heart pounding as I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "Can we talk for a second?" Her expression shifted slightly, curiosity mingling with concern. "Sure, what's up?" I hesitated for a moment, searching for the right words. I saw you with Marco in the kitchen." The smile fell from her face, replaced by confusion. "What do you mean? You were kissing him, Emily. I saw everything." The words were out before I could second-guess myself, and I could see her processing the statement. She opened her mouth to respond, then closed it as if she were gathering her thoughts. "Jake, you've got it all wrong. It was a misunderstanding. We were just what, flirting?" Because it didn't look like just flirting to me, I interrupted, my voice rising slightly. "I can't believe you betray me like this, especially on our anniversary trip." Her demeanor shifted and I could see the defensiveness kick in. "You're being dramatic. It was nothing, I promise. We were just having fun. I didn't mean to hurt you." "Fun?" I spat, incredulous. "Is that what you call it? While I planned this entire trip to rekindle our love, you were out there cheating on me." Emily's eyes narrowed and she crossed her arms defensively. "You don't understand. I've been feeling neglected, Jake. You keep saying you're busy with work, and I felt like I was alone in this marriage. I just wanted attention." That hit me hard. I had been busy with work, yes, but this felt like an excuse to justify her betrayal. "So instead of talking to me, you chose to sleep with someone else. That's your solution." "I didn't sleep with him," she shot back, her voice rising. "We just kissed. It didn't mean anything. Just kissed." I echoed, incredulous. "That's your defense, because it sure felt like a betrayal to me." I felt a rush of anger mixed with heartbreak. How could she downplay what I just witnessed? The emotional weight of her betrayal began to suffocate me. I took a step back, trying to manage the whirlwind of feelings crashing through me. "You know what? I can't do this right now," I said, my voice quieter now but laced with pain. "I need space. I need to think about everything. Jake, please don't leave like this. We can work it out," she pleaded, her voice softening, desperation lacing her tone, but the damage was done. "I don't know if I want to work anything out," I said, my heart heavy with uncertainty. "You've broken my trust, and that's not something that can just be fixed." I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there, a mix of confusion and regret on her face. I was reeling, and I needed time to process what had just happened. The anger was still there, but it was tinged with a profound sadness that felt like a lead weight in my chest. I spent the rest of that evening wandering the old streets of the town, my mind racing. I replayed the confrontation over and over, her words echoing in my mind. I felt betrayed, hurt, and confused all at once. I thought I knew Emily, but now I wondered if I had ever truly known her. It was a long, sleepless night. As I lay in the hotel bed, the silence felt deafening. I stared at the ceiling, my heart racing. What would I do next? Would I confront her again, or would it be better to just cut my losses and walk away from this mess? I felt trapped between anger and sorrow, and my heart ached for the love we once shared, now overshadowed by betrayal. In that moment of solitude, I began to realize I needed to form a plan. I had to consider how to move forward, to reclaim my peace of mind in a situation that felt hopelessly tangled. Would I seek revenge, or try to find a way to salvage what was left of our marriage? I didn't know, but I was determined to figure it out. I owed myself that much. The next morning came too soon, and the sun filtered through the hotel curtains, casting a harsh light on the reality I was facing. I rolled over, dreading the thought of facing Emily after our confrontation, but I knew I had to deal with it, or at least confront it head-on. I hadn't slept well, and my mind felt foggy, but the adrenaline from the night before kept pushing me forward. I found her in the hotel cafe, nursing a cup of coffee. She looked up at me, her eyes wide with a mix of hope and fear. I could see she had been crying. My heart twisted at the sight, but I quickly reminded myself of what she had done. I sat down across from her, taking a deep breath to brace myself for what was about to unfold. "Jake, I'm so glad you're here," she began, her voice shaky. "I didn't sleep at all. I've been thinking about everything," I said. "I'm so sorry." "Sorry doesn't cut it, Emily," I said, my tone flat. "You've broken my trust. Can you even comprehend what that's done to me? Everything I thought we had is in shambles." "I know." "No," she pleaded, her eyes welling up again. "But I want to fix this. I love you, and I made a mistake. A huge mistake. I was feeling lost, and I didn't know how to express it to you. I should have talked to you instead of running to Marco." "Running to Marco," I repeated, incredulous. You didn't just run to him, you kissed him, you had an emotional affair and you're trying to minimize it. Please don't say it like that, she exclaimed, her voice rising again. It was a stupid moment. I was overwhelmed and I don't know, he made me feel seen. I didn't mean for it to happen. Wow, I said, feeling a mix of anger and pity. You think that's an excuse? He made me feel seen. You've been married to me for 5 years and I thought I was doing my best to support you. She looked down, guilt painted across her features. You were, but I didn't communicate my feelings. It's my fault. I understand that. But please, Jake, don't throw everything away because of one mistake. Her words hung in the air, heavy with desperation. I didn't want to throw everything away, but how could I trust her again? The image of her with Marco replayed in my mind, a haunting reminder of her betrayal. I felt a fire of anger stir within me, and I knew it was time to take control of the situation. Let's make a deal, Emily, I said, suddenly feeling a surge of power. You want to keep this marriage. Then you need to earn back my trust. This isn't just going to be swept under the rug. You'll have to prove to me that you're serious about us. What do you mean? She asked, her eyebrows furrowing in confusion. I mean, you need to be transparent. No more late nights, no more secrets. You need to share everything with me, and I want you to cut all ties with Marco. If you want to be with me, you need to show me that you can be committed to this marriage. Her face paled, and for a moment I thought she might argue, but cutting him out completely. I mean, he's just a tour guide. He was a mistake, but exactly. I interrupted. He was a mistake and I don't want you anywhere near him. If you can't do that, then I don't think there's any hope left for us. Emily looked torn and I could see the battle within her. Okay, she finally said, her voice quieter. I'll do it. I'll cut him out. I'll be transparent. I promise I'll work hard to regain your trust. Just please don't give up on us. The desperation in her voice stirred something in me. I wanted to believe her, but it was hard. I wanted to cling to the hope of fixing our marriage, but I also felt this unshakable urge for revenge. I was torn between wanting to punish her for the pain she caused me and yearning for the love we once shared. I didn't know how to navigate these feelings. As I left the cafe, I felt a surge of determination wash over me. I was going to make her realize how serious the situation was. Maybe not revenge in the traditional sense, but I needed to wake her up to the reality of her actions. I had to show her that actions have consequences. And I wasn't just going to sit back and let her waltz back into my life without proving she was worthy of my trust. I decided to put a plan into action. I started mapping out how I would execute my idea of revenge. It wasn't about hurting her. It was about making her understand the gravity of her betrayal. I wanted her to feel the weight of her mistakes, to understand the pain she had caused me. I thought of all the ways I could turn the tables and shake her up a little. I reached out to some old friends who I hadn't seen in ages. They were all back home while I was stuck in Italy, but I could feel a sense of camaraderie in the thought of reconnecting with them. I arranged to meet them when I got back home. I needed support, a distraction, and a reminder that I was worth more than the betrayal I had just endured. I also started thinking about ways to make Emily feel the void of what she had lost. I wanted her to understand how fragile everything was, how quickly love could turn to resentment. I was going to let her forget that she had put me through hell. Later that day, after I'd spent some time alone to gather my thoughts, I returned to our hotel room. Emily was sitting on the bed, her face a mix of anxiety and hope. "Jake, can we talk?" she asked softly. I looked at her, remembering the hurt and betrayal from the previous day. "We can talk, yes, but just know that things have changed. You're going to have to work harder than ever before if you want to keep this marriage intact." She nodded quickly, relief flooding her features. "I understand. I'm ready to do whatever it takes." "Good," I replied, "because it's time for both of us to face the reality of what's happened." With that, the stage was set. I had my plan and I was ready to execute it, but I needed to stay strong. This was just the beginning of a long journey, and I wasn't sure where it would take me. In the days that followed, the atmosphere between Emily and me shifted dramatically. There was an unspoken tension lingering in the air, a mix of unresolved emotions that neither of us could completely shake off. I knew I was laying down the law, and while it felt empowering, it also felt uncomfortable. I had to tread carefully. I didn't want to push her away completely, but I needed her to realize the severity of her actions. I took my time to think about how to make my plan unfold. I had made a promise to myself to show her that love wasn't something to take for granted. I wanted Emily to feel the weight of her betrayal, but I didn't want to descend into outright revenge. What I had in mind was more about making her aware of her choices and the impact they had on our lives. I started by making plans with my friends back home, arranging to spend more time with them as I returned. I hadn't seen them in years, and I thought I could use their support to help me deal with the emotional fallout. I wanted to immerse myself in their company, away from the guilt and sadness that hung over my marriage. The idea of rekindling those friendships was invigorating, a chance to remind myself of who I was before. This mess. Emily, for her part, was trying hard to meet my demands. She was open about her phone, checking in with me on her social media, and she even took the leap of cutting ties with Marco. I appreciated the effort, but every time I saw her scrolling through her phone or laughing at a text, my heart would sink, wondering if she was thinking about him. I wanted to believe she was sincere, but doubts lingered at the back of my mind. One afternoon, I decided to check in on her. I walked into our hotel room to find her sitting on the couch, looking lost in thought. "Hey," I said, trying to break the ice. "How's it going?" "I've been working on my cooking skills," she replied, forcing a smile. "I thought maybe we could try making something together tonight." I forced a nod, but the thought of cooking with her felt strange. "Sure, let's do that, but I can't help but feel like we're still tiptoeing around each other." She stared down at her hands. "I know. I'm really trying, Jake. I want to show you that I can change." "Change takes time, Emily," I said, my voice firm but calm. "You've shattered my trust. It's not something I can just forget. I need to know that you're committed to rebuilding this." "I am," she insisted, her eyes pleading. "I want to prove to you that I'm worth it. Can we have a fresh start?" The idea of a fresh start sounded appealing, but I felt a twinge of skepticism. Fresh starts usually came after deep introspection and genuine growth, and I needed to see more from her before I'd consider it. That evening, as we cooked together, there were moments of awkward silence interspersed with laughter. At times, I caught a glimpse of the Emily I fell in love with, the one who could light up a room. But it was always accompanied by a shadow of doubt, a reminder of the betrayal that had come between us. Later that night, I decided to share my thoughts with her, hoping to gauge where her head was at. "Emily, I want us to be able to talk openly. If something is bothering you, don't hold back." She paused, chewing her lip. "It's just hard, you." "No, I feel like I've ruined everything. I don't want to keep bringing it up, but I also don't want to ignore it." "I get that," I replied, feeling a sense of empathy for her struggles. "But pretending it never happened isn't going to help us either. We need to address what happened if we're ever going to move forward." "Right," she said, nodding. "I'll try to be more open about how I'm feeling. It's just difficult to face what I did." After a few days of this tentative rebuilding phase, I felt ready to implement the next step in my plan. I had been talking to my friends about what was going on, and they were eager to help me reclaim my independence and self-worth. They were planning a small reunion gathering back home, and I knew it was the perfect opportunity to take a step back from Emily and show her that I wasn't going to sit idly by. "Hey, Em," I said one morning over breakfast. "I've got plans to hang out with some friends back home next week. It's been too long since we've all caught up, and I think I need some time to focus on myself." I watched as her expression shifted, a mixture of surprise and uncertainty crossing her face. "Oh, okay. How long are you going to be gone?" "A few days, I think," I replied casually, trying to gauge her reaction. Her brow furrowed. "I mean, I get it, but is this really necessary?" "Yeah, I think it is. I need to clear my head and I want to reconnect with my friends. It'll give us both some space to think about everything." She nodded slowly, but I could see the worry etched on her face. "I just hope you're not shutting me out," she said softly. I shook my head. "It's not about shutting you out, Emily. It's about finding clarity. I need to figure out if I can really trust you again, and I can't do that if I'm constantly reminded of what happened." "Fair enough," she replied, her voice tinged with resignation. "I just hope it doesn't change everything." As I prepared to leave, I noticed how tense she looked, and despite my resolve, I felt a twinge of guilt for what I doing. I didn't want to hurt her, but I was also tired of feeling like I was the one who had to carry the burden of her mistakes. I had to prioritize my own emotional health, and sometimes that meant making tough decisions. As I set off for home, I felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. This was my chance to reclaim my identity, to remind myself of who I was outside of my marriage. I was determined to enjoy my time with friends and let go of the weight that had been dragging me down. But I also knew that Emily would be left alone to face the consequences of her actions, and part of me wondered if that would bring her any realization of what she had done. With every mile I drove, I felt a sense of freedom wash over me. I was reclaiming my life, my choices, and my happiness. But I wouldn't forget the betrayal. I needed to find a balance between moving forward and holding her accountable. The journey was far from over, and I was ready to see where it would take me next. Returning home felt like stepping into a new chapter of my life, one where I was no longer defined by the turmoil of my marriage. I had a renewed sense of purpose as I reconnected with my friends. They welcomed me back with open arms, eager to catch up and share stories. It was refreshing to be around people who knew me before I was entangled in the mess that was my marriage. We spent the first night reminiscing over drinks, laughter echoing through the familiar spaces of my favorite bar. It felt good to unwind, to let loose and rediscover the part of myself that I had lost. As I shared the details of my situation with them, I felt a mixture of support and disbelief. They couldn't believe Emily would cheat on me, but they also understood my need to take time for myself. "Dude, you're better off without her if she can't appreciate you," my friend Max said. "You deserve someone who's going to be all in." "Yeah, but it's not that simple," I replied, swirling my drink. "We've built a life together, and despite everything, I still care about her. But I can't ignore how deeply she hurt me." "Just take it one step at a time," another friend, Sarah, chimed in. "Focus on yourself right now. You can decide later if you want to salvage things with her or not, but you need to heal first." Their words resonated with me, and for the first time in a while I felt a flicker of hope. I could do this. I could focus on myself and figure out what I wanted and needed moving forward. Over the next few days, I immersed myself in my old life. I caught up with friends, went to the gym, and spent late nights filled with laughter. But as the days rolled on, I couldn't shake the nagging thoughts about Emily. I wondered how she was coping without me, if she was truly taking the time to reflect on her actions, or if she was simply sitting in guilt and regret. I decided to call her one evening, wanting to check in but also feeling a sense of responsibility to at least acknowledge our connection amidst the chaos. "Hey, Em," I said as she answered, trying to keep my tone neutral. "Jake, I wasn't sure if you would call," she said, relief washing over her voice. "Yeah, I figured I should see how you're doing," I replied, my heart racing slightly. "How has it been for you?" "It's been hard," she admitted, her voice trembling. "I've been doing a lot of thinking. I realize how stupid I was. I want to make things right, Jake. I miss you." "Do you really understand what you did?" I asked, unable to keep the edge from my voice. "Do you know how much pain you caused me?" "I do," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I know I hurt you deeply, and I'm so truly sorry. I've been working on myself, trying to figure out why I acted the way I did. I promise I've cut all ties with Marco. I'm ready to be open with you completely." "Words are one thing, Emily. I need to see actions," I said, my tone firm. "You need to show me you're serious about making this work. Please, give me a chance," she begged. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes to prove to you that I can be the partner you deserve." Hearing her genuine plea stirred a whirlwind of emotions within me. I still had doubts, but there was a part of me that wanted to believe she could change. "I'll think about it," I said cautiously, "but I'm not making any promises." "I understand. Just know that I'll be waiting for you," she said softly, and I could hear the hope in her voice. After we hung up, I felt conflicted. I had been enjoying my time away, but now I was reminded of the tangled feelings I had toward our marriage. The reality of her betrayal still loomed large, but I couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope that maybe there was a way forward. As the week drew to a close, I prepared to return to Italy. I knew it was time to face Emily again, to see if she had truly reflected on her decisions. I wanted to believe that we could work toward rebuilding our marriage, but I wasn't naive. I needed to be cautious, to guard my heart while still giving her a fair chance. When I arrived back at the hotel, I found Emily waiting for me with a hopeful expression. She rushed into my arms, and for a brief moment I felt a sense of familiarity wash over me. But the memories of the betrayal quickly dampened that feeling. "Welcome back," she said, pulling back to look into my eyes. "I missed you." "Let's talk," I said, my voice steady. "I want to know what you've been doing to work on yourself since I've been gone." We sat down together and she began to share her thoughts about our relationship, her feelings of loneliness, and the mistakes she had made. I listened intently, gauging her sincerity and trying to see if the woman I had fallen in love with was still there beneath the surface. "I want to be better, Jake," she said earnestly. "I want to communicate and be the partner you deserve. I realize I need to be accountable for my actions." "It's going to take time, Emily," I replied, knowing that rebuilding trust wouldn't happen overnight. "But I'm willing to give it a shot if you truly mean what you say." "I do," she reassured me, determination shining in her eyes. "I don't want to lose you." Her pleading gaze stirred something within me, a longing for the connection we used to share. But I knew I had to stay strong and firm in my resolve. I needed to hold her accountable while still being open to the possibility of rebuilding our relationship. As we began to talk through our feelings, I felt a glimmer of hope. It was clear that Emily was making an effort to be sincere, but I also knew it was going to be a long and rocky road ahead. We had a lot of work to do, and while I couldn't forget the past, I was willing to explore what the future might hold for us, together. But in the back of my mind, I still felt the urge to remind her of the consequences of her actions, to ensure she would never take my love or loyalty for granted again. I wanted her to see the reality of what she had done, and I was determined to find a way to do that without completely losing myself in the process. The journey was far from over, and I was ready to see where it would lead us next. The days that followed. My return to Italy were a mix of tentative steps and cautious optimism. Emily and I worked hard to communicate openly, but the shadow of her betrayal still loomed large. I could see the determination in her eyes, and there were moments when I believed we were making progress. Yet there were also instances where doubt crept in, whispering reminders of what had transpired. One evening, we took a walk through the quaint streets of Florence, hand in hand. The city was aglow with soft lights, and for a brief moment I felt like we could be that happy couple again. But as I looked at her, I couldn't shake the feeling that everything was still unstable. The memories of betrayal were like ghosts haunting our present. "Jake," she said as we paused to take in the view of the Arno River, "I just want you to know how much I appreciate that you're giving me this chance. I know it's not easy for you." "Thanks, Emily," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "But it's not just about appreciation. I need to see sustained effort. You can't just say the right things, you have to show me." "I will," she promised, her eyes earnest. "I'm committed to showing you I can be better. I don't want to lose you again." That night we talked late into the evening, discussing our dreams, fears, and the future. I felt a small flicker of hope ignite within me. Perhaps we could rebuild something stronger if we both put in the work. I had my reservations, but I wanted to give it a chance. That weekend, as we settled into a routine of rebuilding, I decided to implement a few boundaries. I started by asking Emily to openly share her phone with me whenever we were together. It was a way for me to feel reassured that she was being transparent. She agreed, albeit with a hint of reluctance, but I could see she understood where I was coming from. One evening, while we were watching a movie together, her phone buzzed with notifications. I glanced at her, gauging her reaction. "Are you going to check it?" I asked, trying to keep the tone light. "Yeah, sure," she said, reaching for it. "I've got nothing to hide." As she scrolled through her messages, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. I was slightly taken aback when she revealed there was nothing from Marco. That was a good sign. She was committed to sticking to her promise. But just as I began to feel hopeful, a nagging thought crept into my mind. Was her commitment genuine, or was she simply trying to appease me temporarily? Over the next few weeks, we navigated through our routines, and there were times when I saw glimpses of the Emily I fell in love with. She was trying hard to be present and attentive, and I appreciated her efforts. But there were also moments of frustration, where I felt the weight of her betrayal creeping back into my mind, tainting the new memories we were trying to create. Then came the day I decided it was time to confront her about the lingering feelings of doubt I had. Emily, I began cautiously. I need to talk to you about how I'm feeling. I appreciate all the efforts you're making, but I still feel like something's off. She turned to me, concern etched on her face. What do you mean? I thought we were making progress. We are, but I'm still feeling insecure, I admitted. I can't just forget what happened, and I need to know that you're not simply doing this to appease me. I need to feel safe. She reached for my hand, squeezing it gently. I understand, Jake. I don't want you to feel insecure. I'm here to earn back your trust, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Her words were a balm to my heart, but I still felt the weight of the past pressing heavily on my conscience. We had both hurt each other in different ways, and while Emily had betrayed my trust, I had also put up walls that made it difficult for her to communicate her needs. I think we need to start doing things together that remind us of the love we share, I suggested. Let's go on some adventures, try new things, and create fresh memories. We can't keep living in the shadow of what happened. I'd love that, she said, a smile breaking through the heaviness. Let's start fresh, one day at a time. And so we did. We began taking weekend trips, exploring the beauty of Italy together and immersing ourselves in new experiences. We tried cooking classes, wine tastings, and even went horseback riding along the coast. Each moment was a reminder of the joy we could share, and with every adventure, I felt a bit more of my trust slowly returning. One evening, as we sat on a balcony overlooking the sunset, I couldn't help but feel a sense of peace washing over me. You know, I'm still scared, but I'm also hopeful, I confessed to Emily. Me too, she said, her eyes glowing with sincerity. I don't want to walk this path without you. I'm committed to showing you that we can rebuild what we had. With time, I learned that healing from betrayal required patience, both with Emily and with myself. It was a slow process, but as we moved forward, we became more aware of each other's needs. I realized that my feelings of doubt were valid, but they didn't have to dictate our future. In the end, I found a balance between holding Emily accountable and allowing her the space to prove her sincerity. I learned to embrace vulnerability and communicate openly while also nurturing my own emotional health. As we continued on our journey together, I discovered that love could endure despite betrayal. It wasn't easy, but with effort from both sides, we began to cultivate a deeper understanding of each other. Reflecting on this experience, I learned that relationships require constant nurturing and honesty. Trust is fragile, and it takes time to rebuild once broken. But if both partners are willing to work through the pain and face the future together, there might just be a chance to find a new beginning, one built on stronger foundations and renewed hope. As I looked at Emily beside me, I couldn't predict what the future would hold, but I knew we were both committed to finding out together.